Welcome to Breaking the Cycle of Poverty, featuring Jay Height, Executive Director of Shepherd Community Center in Indianapolis. My name is Tim Swearens, and I'm your host for these conversations that explore why poverty remains such a persistent problem in the United States. On this episode, Jay is joined by Shepherd's Chief Engagement Officer, Phil Edwards, to discuss the work Phil and his team are doing to strengthen and protect students' mental health in our community. Jay, will you introduce Phil to our listeners?
Yes, Phil is a dear friend and a colleague. Been here now almost 6 years in two different stints. Been in the city over 15 years. I've known him for over 15 years. We are thankful. He is the official OG of Arsenal Tech High School, coming to us from Atlanta, Georgia, where he grew up in the inner city. He is a man of great faith. He's a Falcons fan, so he cries a lot, prays a lot. But we're glad to have him here, and he's making a huge impact into the students of our neighborhood.
So, Phil, you and your team are working at Arsenal Tech High School.
Yes.
Tell us about the work you're doing and how it came about.
Yeah, so I'll also just mention that my wife and I, my family and I moved to Indianapolis 17 years ago in the Holy Cross community where Arsenal Tech is located. And so a few years back, I just really had a burden for our young folk on the Near East Side and had a desire just to be in a space where they could share what they're going through, because kids face a lot of challenges. And so we've created a couple of spaces at Arsenal Tech where kids could come to on a weekly and daily basis, and they're mental health classrooms. We call those rooms Reset. And Reset, simply, it is a safe place for kids to be heard. And so we get the opportunity to interface with young folk who are having some unique challenges that we give ear to and to try to help them process those challenges.
What kind of challenges are they facing?
Yeah, a variety of challenges. Of course, being young isn't easy. Sure. Kids are coming from some households that are quite challenging as it relates to just a lack of strong parenting. And they're dealing with the stress of life and the uncertainty, peer pressure for sure. And bullying is another thing that I think a number of the kids are going through, but just want to be heard. I think kids just generally want people to hear what they're feeling. They don't always know how to express what they feel, but they at least want people to give them the space to be heard.
Obviously, Shepherd is a Christian ministry, Tech is a public high school. How do you interact and work in that environment, that dynamic?
Yeah, I would say as we do at Shepherd, we're about helping families break the cycle of poverty, and relationships are extremely important to us. And so the first thing we do is we get to know the kids. We go into the spaces where they are. That's the cafeteria on the campus. And so the reality is that we get to show up and to model our Christian testimony. And in the event that kids ask questions about God or even mentions that they want to pray, then we embrace that. We simply say, great, that's a great idea, but we don't lead with that, with our faith, but we live it out and we model just what that means to them on a daily basis.
Yeah, we want to be respectful of the rules that they have. Yeah. And so there is a Bible study, but it's after school hours, and we're encouraging kids to that. They're coming to our after school program where we can be more forward with that. But the reality is, we live in one of the most disconnected from other relationship time for this age group. I read something that 70%, they have 70% less interactions with other humans than their parents, because they're living in this artificial social media world where a lot of that bullying goes on.
For sure. Yeah. Absolutely.
You're welcomed by the administration. You feel like you're a part of the school and embraced.
100%. They see us as an ally, as a official community partner. And so we do a lot of fun things with the staff, the administration and faculty, as we are supporting the students.
In 2021, the U.S. Surgeon General issued an advisory saying that, depression, anxiety among young people in the United States had just skyrocketed. From your experience, before, during, and after the pandemic, are there still issues that a lot of kids are dealing with?
Oh, for sure. And I think the students who were not in school during the pandemic, they are learning how to re-socialize. and a number of kids are anxious about being in crowds, and we have experienced that with some kids. They don't interact with their peers. They just rather be alone. And to be honest with you, the space that we have in the reset rooms at Tech, they enjoy being in a space that is very it's laid back. We have sensory, good lighting, we have music, we have soft chairs and rug, and so they love that space. It's like being at home.
Right.
And so we know for some students it's better for them to be in a smaller setting. So, but for the majority of the kids, I think it's learning how to deal with conflict. And so they do have some challenges resolving some of that. It doesn't always end up in fighting, but it's just that there are words exchanged because they just don't know how to express their space, and how that when people invade their space or it makes them feel uncomfortable.
How can our listeners support Shepherd's work at Tech?
Well, I think there's numerous ways. We do things like, I was just talking to the principal this week, and we have seniors. They have over 600 seniors at Tech, and some of them have no way to pay for senior pictures. And I thought back, of course, it was a long time ago, and the cameras looked a lot different back then. But it was just expected you got them.
It's a milestone in a young person's life.
Yeah, and so we want to help. I know Phil was able to rally some folks to help for the prom, that they didn't have money for the food. These basic things. We've helped the track team get spikes, and we've helped the music team have the different music programs be able to have food. And so if you want to support Tech through the different efforts that we have, you can designate a gift towards that. If you want to invest in the students or in the staff that's working with students, you could do that. Here's a great story. Phil just told me this week. One of our staff members is a retired IMPD officer. And so she's walking through campus when this student comes up and says, "Do you remember me?" And she said, "No." And he said, "You arrested me." But I'm making better choices. Yes. Things have changed for this young man. And so it's great that we can have folks in there that are engaging. Probably most days we have around 6 different staff in there, so folks can do that. You can donate snack items because we take a lot of snacks into those reset rooms. And there's all kinds of ways. There'll be something new coming soon where we're going to engage adults to connect to students at a mealtime during the school day this fall. And so be paying attention to hear more of that. But you can help us be able to provide supplies. We supplied winter coats for students and hats and gloves. We've met all kinds of different challenges they have. This is a partnership. And every kid is going to be mentored. The question's by who. And every kid's going to be invested in. And we want to be that investor.
So a lot of ways that listeners can help, and I would also just add, prayer. I mean, all of Shepherd's ministry needs and is built on prayer. But I think particularly here, because you're going in and helping kids at a vulnerable time of life, and a lot being pushed at them. So our listeners every day, if you could just think about the work that Phil and his crew are doing at Tech, and just pray for them and for those kids.
And I would just add, Tim, that some of our students are needing counseling.
Yes.
And of course, that may be something they receive through their parents' insurance or what have you, if they have that. But it would be great to have resources to give them counseling sessions, especially those who have had some severe trauma.
Yeah, and I'll just add this. One of the things that Phil and his team have led is 3 times during the school year, we do mental health days. And so the school picks 25 kids from each of the grades, and they go somewhere. And so they've gone to the Colts complex, they've gone to the Pacers complex. They're going to come to Shepherd for one here in the spring. Yeah. And then in the fall, we're going to go out to the Indy 500. We want these kids to have a special day, but we want them to feel heard, and we bring in some speakers, and there's a group of other that runs programs with high school students that come in and share with them. And so CareSource has been a great partner in this. We want to continue to find ways to invest in them. And so we're thankful for this opportunity to invest heavily into our high school.
Thank you, Phil and Jay, and we'll continue this conversation in our next episode. For 40 years, Shepherd Community has made a lasting difference in the lives of thousands and thousands of neighbors. The Shepherd team couldn't do that work without the support of donors, partners, and volunteers. To learn more about how you can help, please visit shepherdcommunity.org. Thank you for listening.
Thank you.
Thank